You can reset the days since counter because there is another new best model. This time it's GPT-5.4 and I've been testing it, so here's what you need to know as well as the pros and cons in 5 minutes and 40 seconds. So here are the bullet points. GPT 5.4 is better at knowledge work and web search. It has native computer use capabilities. There's a new tool search feature, which I'll explain in a bit. It can be steered mid-response. There's a new fast mode, and it also has a 1 million token context window. Seemingly that goal with 5.4 was to combine Codex 5.3 coding capabilities with the knowledge, web search, and professional work skills of GPT 5.2 to make 5.4 the all-rounder do-everything model. And according to artificial analysis third-party benchmarks, they've actually achieved their goal. It's ranked as the best coding model, the best agentic model, and it also draws with Gemini for the best intelligence model. If we focus in on what I found to be the most interesting bullet point though, it was their native computer use. OpenAI have apparently designed this as their first general purpose model with built-in computer use capabilities, so it should excel at writing code to operate computers via libraries like Playwright, as well as issuing mouse and keyboard commands in response to screenshots. They released an experimental Playwright skill, so I gave it a go. In Codex, using 5.4 and high reasoning, I gave it a prompt to create an interactive 3D experience of Tower Bridge in London. I also used the new skill, as well as an image generation skill, so it can generate its own assets to use as textures. Now, the experience itself was pretty similar to Codex 5.3, which until now was my favorite model. After around 20 minutes or so of working through the task, that's when it started to use the new Playwright skill, and that experience was pretty good. It would open up the browser, click around, navigate the scene, identify any visual issues that it needed to fix, like this background not blending into the scene, and then it would jump back into the code, fix it, and rinse and repeat, and it all felt very smooth and natural. The first iteration of this project actually took around 30 minutes to complete, all from that single prompt, and after that I sent some follow-ups asking for a few more details and a few fixes, like boats being sideways and the road clipping with other textures, and it again just went off and worked on those tasks for around 30 minutes on each prompt, opening up Chrome, verifying and making changes, and giving me this final version in about an hour and a half of work and 3 prompts. And it's not perfect by any means, but for a completely hands-off development, I don't think it's too bad, and to me, this model is just a no-brainer upgrade for those of you that already like 5.3 Codex. I did find it quite funny though that after about 2 hours of using this, it prompted me that I could have saved an hour of my time if I switch over to that new fast mode. This is actually the exact same model, same intelligence, and same experience. It just delivers up to 1.5 times faster token speed because it's billed at 2 times your usage. So it's essentially just a priority tier, and it's not a different model at all. Now, the other bullet point that I found particularly interesting in this release was the tool search. This solves the problem of having all of your tool definitions loaded into the system prompt up front. So if you have too many tools and too many MCP servers, you end up wasting tokens and causing context bloat, which can impact the quality of your output. Now with GPT 5.4, the prompt instead has a lightweight list of available tools, and the model actually has a tool search capability. So when the model does need a tool, it can simply look up that tool definition and append it to the conversation right when it's needed. OpenAI actually says this reduces token usage by up to 47%, and they showed that in a benchmark with 36 MCP servers where it maintained the same accuracy. Besides those new features that we just looked at, this model is really focused around improving tools, both improving how the model uses them, as well as when it chooses to use them, and this has paid off in their benchmarks, but to be honest with you, there's not too much to report here besides, yes, the new model is better than the last model. I think you can summarize the pros of this model as it's smarter, it runs for longer, and it uses tools better, meaning it can complete harder tasks than the last model could. Yes, newsflash everyone, this model is better than the last version. But now let's talk about some of the cons. The most noticeable one to me was the speed. While I do like my models to think for a little bit longer, sometimes it feels like GPT 5.4 does this a little too much, or maybe it's just slow at the actual thinking, and I'm definitely not the only one. Artificial analysis results actually showed that GPT 5.4 takes the longest to return a token by a pretty large margin, and the same applies for the first to return 500 tokens as well. And I'm not sure if this is a model issue or a provider issue at the moment, so maybe this will improve over time, but maybe a more pessimistic view is that this one is slower, so you use their new fast mode. Another con is the price bump for those of you that use the API. The base model is actually $2.50 per a million input tokens and $15 per a million output tokens, but the Pro model, that is a pricey one. It is charged at $30 per a million input tokens and $180 for a million output tokens. And even worse, if you do want to take advantage of that new 1 million token context window, any input beyond 272,000 tokens will be billed at double the normal rate. so I'd maybe consider compacting your context for now. The final con though is UI design, and while this one is a little bit subjective, I asked Opus 4.6 and GPT 5.4 for a cafe website, and I think I prefer Opus's here, although neither of these blew me away. I think the main thing that I struggle with GPT 5.4 and some of the other GPT models is they all seem to have a very similar UI. It seems to love this sort of frosted card-like UI, and it of course loves a gradient. And obviously this was just one test that I did, but on Design Arena, this model isn't ranking too highly either, so it's just something that OpenAI aren't that strong at the moment. Overall though, I will say I will be daily driving this model as I am a Codex fan, but I'm curious what your thoughts are. What is your model of choice? Let me know in the comments down below. While you're there, subscribe, and as always, see you in the next one.